All right, welcome, Writing Workshop. We are actually live right now with my 5th hour class. Say 5th hour, say A.
Hey!
I hope you guys could hear that through the microphone right there. This little video is especially for those of you who might be stuck at home, not able to see our demonstration in class on thesis writing. I'm intentionally doing this with 5th hour right now, because I would imagine I've got some students in 5th hour who have chosen their prompt for the college application essay and just need some help getting started with a thesis statement. I'm actually going to ask 5th hour a question first. So we're looking at the outline document for the essay right here. I should ask you guys, why do I have thesis bolded, and why do I have it say do this first, even though it doesn't come first in the essay?
Because it's very important.
Javaj got to start us off right there, right? He said that our thesis is very important. We always want to outline or plan our thesis statement first because it is the most important statement, sentence or two, in our essay. It's also good to plan it first because it is going to give guidance to the rest of our essay. So even though it comes last in the introduction, as we'll be talking about next week, we still want to plan it first because it's going to guide all of our thinking for our college application essay. This is going to differ for everyone in Writing Workshop depending on the prompt you chose. So I think I'm just going to just ask the audience here a little bit. I'm curious to know if anyone in 5th hour has chosen a prompt already and would like some help writing a thesis right now. Yeah, is yours the obstacles one? Yeah, I want to say is that common application prompt number 2? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you want to use this prompt because it's a really great one for being vulnerable about your own life and also explaining or expressing how you've grown through struggle. Do you have like a specific trial or situation that you wanted to reflect on in yours? So I'm just going to use this example, right? So Secret wants to reflect on how her dealings with anxiety have shaped her as a person. Is that correct? Sure. Have you written a thesis yet? Okay, that's fine. I'll write this one for anxiety then, just as an example, right? Let me actually look at the prompt real quick. One thing I hope you guys are noticing is I'm taking a look at the prompt itself. And one way to think about thesis statements is how do I respond to this prompt in 1 or 2 sentences? Not thinking about 500 words at this point. How do I respond to this if I only have 1 or 2 sentences? It says this: recount a time, so one time, one situation, when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you? What did you learn from the experience? Let me spitball one real quick. I don't know if this is going to be accurate for Secret's situation or not, but just an example of how we might thesis write. Let's see. So recount a time when I faced a challenge, setback, or failure. I could say something like my dealings with anxiety. Let's see. Made me feel like I was at, I'm just going to say rock bottom. I'll put that in quotation marks because it's kind of a slang term. Is there maybe a comma but right here I could use? My dealings with anxiety made me feel like I was at rock bottom, but I am glad to say I've grown from, do I say it or them here? I'll say them because dealings is plural, period. Please note, you may write 2-sentence thesis statements. Maybe in the past you're used to using 1-sentence thesis. I'm going to use a 2-sentence so I can go even deeper than here. So it does say, what did I learn from the experience? Let me pause here for a moment. Secret, would you say this is a fairly accurate statement for you? What are some ways that you've, or some things you've learned or ways you've grown from this? Sure. I have learned to use them more comfortable and open about my, what's a good noun there? Is triggers an accurate noun? Sure. Period. One thing I like to do whenever I write something important, especially thesis statements, is read it back to make sure that it makes sense with our prompt. My dealings with anxiety have made me feel like I was at rock bottom, but I'm glad to say I've grown from them. I've learned to be more comfortable and open about my triggers. Let's do this as thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. We did this a couple weeks ago. What do you guys think, 5th hour? In general, thumbs up, it's a workable thesis. This works. Thumbs middle, it needs some work. Thumbs down, scrap it, try again. Thumbs on 3, 1, 2, 3 thumbs. Once again, up, middle, down. I'm seeing a lot of ups and middles. Anyone who placed it middle, is there maybe something we should do to revise this one? Seeing a lot of I don't knows. One thing that I would clarify here is that we don't necessarily have to explain everything right in this spot. Notice that in our introduction, we still get to give some background before our thesis to clarify context. And then obviously the body is going to develop these thoughts in general. I do think this is a workable thesis. We can always change it later as we're drafting if it doesn't quite match everything we want to do. But I would say this is a working thesis right here. Secret, feel free to use this one if it works for you, but it sounds like you already have a different one that works well anyway. Thanks for volunteering, by the way. Super helpful. What I want to clarify for you, Jamasia, so notice here, this thesis does address that prompt in 2 ways. For one, it says, so how did that challenge, setback, or failure affect you? That first sentence does reflect that a little bit. It made me feel like I was at rock bottom. But there's a second part to that prompt, right? What did you learn from that experience? That's what we've identified specifically in the second part right there. A good thesis should address the prompt very clearly and concisely. But then from there in your body, you can develop that, right? If I were to ask you guys, what would you expect me to focus on the most in my body for this essay, based on this thesis? Okay, so I'm probably going to talk a little bit about exactly how anxiety manifested in my body. I'll probably talk about that a little bit in my background, because I have to mention somehow anxiety before this point. But I should probably reflect on how it made me feel like I was at rock bottom. I should say, this is not a thesis written for me specifically. Anxiety is not necessarily one of my dealings. If I were to look at number 2, I would probably choose a different trial that I've been through, but this is a workable thesis. The other thing that the body is definitely going to focus on, possibly in another paragraph, kind of split body paragraphs there, is talking about how I've grown from it, right? I'll discuss how exactly it taught me to be more comfortable and open about my triggers. So notice that this thesis statement does give some structure to the essay moving forward. I think we do have time to do one more thesis statement if anyone would like to workshop one in here. No one in this class specifically? I might add some from other classes. Just for fun, I think I want to try one for the UW prompts. I'm flipping over. I don't know how many of you are planning to apply to any of the University of Wisconsin schools, but they all use the same prompt. Tell us about something you've done academically or personally and what you've learned from it. It's a really open prompt. Was it a success or a challenge? Did it represent a turning point in your life? How did this moment influence you? How will it continue to influence you? That's a lot of questions. One thing that's nice about this prompt is it basically gives you your essay structure bit by bit. In our thesis, we'll probably get a start on it right here. Tell us about something you've done and what you've learned from it. Let's identify that in a thesis. What's something I've done academically or personally? Oh, I'll talk about learning German. Let's see. I might say something like, I was very lucky to be part of one of the best high school German programs in Illinois. My high school in Illinois had one of the best German programs in the entire state. I was very lucky to be part of one of the best high school German programs in Illinois. Let's see. What have I learned from that experience? Becoming near fluent in German as a teenager opened up. I'll say has opened up. I'm pretending like I'm a high schooler here. This isn't fully past tense. Has opened up doors I never would have imagined. This thesis is perhaps a little bit less clear than the last one that we wrote, but notice that it does keep my reader reading, right? It does keep us going into our body, right? I would expect the body of this essay to focus on what were those doors that learning German, even as a teenager, what kind of doors did those open, and how, or has that opened, and how has that impacted my life? Notice that when I thesis write, I'm trying to address that prompt as clearly and concisely as possible. This is the best way to get started on outlining for those of you looking to get started with your essay. I think I'm going to cut off our video here. I just need to talk to Fifth Hour a little bit about some reminders as we prepare for next week. Thanks for listening. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Later.